I would bet $100 that hospitals come in the top 5 in a global poll to determine where people hate the most. And morgues? You wouldn't even catch me dead in one. But then again, as much as we regular people dread them, the fact remains that some special few work and live in these places: doctors, nurses, and the whole shebang. They sleep with their eyes wide open, speak without opening their mouths, and have adapted to horror as a second skin, and nothing phases them. They're demigods, or so they'd have you think. Sometimes, however, the kind of stuff that goes down beyond those walls scares even our unsung superheroes. Today, I'll show you 15 times that such occurrences were caught on camera, so gear up, because these might make the entire Resident Evil franchise feel like child's play. Back from the underworld. In January of 2022, we have a John Doe, and like you and I, he has bright hopes for the new year. 2022 was going to be the year that he slaved at the gym to attain that Zac Efron Baywatch body. More money, more jobs, more cars, more of everything and anything good. And I'm not sure exactly what went wrong, but all of those hopes and plans sadly went out the window when just about 3 weeks into the year, he found himself in the morgue. And no, he didn't come mourning, bringing a dead relative to the morgue. He was the dead relative himself. Or so everyone thought. It's business as usual, the dead, staying dead, until there's some movement beneath the shroud. It's subtle at first, and you even dismiss it as a figment of your imagination. That is until it becomes obvious. His left arm pops out, and it's like, whoa, what the hell is going on? He then takes off the clothing in the most sinister way and emerges from beneath like a phoenix out of the ashes. No, not like Voldemort. He then emerges like Voldemort when he was reborn in that graveyard in the Goblet of Fire. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were the security guy watching the footage in real time, I would have probably crapped my pants and then passed out or died out of terror. The footage ends there. Never say never, but I know it's highly unlikely that the guy really came back from the dead. If your guess is as good as mine, he was wrongly pronounced dead by whoever was supposed to be the professional on duty. I expect that our Lazarus had followed up from there with some serious legal action. Winning stuff like this in court could set you up for life, and perhaps his 2022 goals would have been met and exceeded. Every cloud, after all, does have a silver lining. A demon-possessed woman goes off the rails. While we're all entitled to our beliefs, it's only fair to acknowledge solid proof that opposes your ideologies when you see them. I'm a free thinker myself, At least I was until I saw this clip. Jonathan Savot, a lover boy like myself, was in the hospital in Paris to see his sick girlfriend. While waiting for the doctor's arrival, the woman sharing the room with his sweetheart began manifesting what could have only been a demonic possession and then hurling threats at them. Now, you might try to explain it away with science, but deep down inside that just maybe there are some things that science doesn't have the answer to. I strongly believe this is one of them. I mean, what is with that raspiness? If you look closely enough, you'll see that her mouth wasn't even moving, and you could only tell that she was alive by the oscillations of her chest. And last I checked, you need your mouth to speak. It doesn't end there, though. Though he had stopped filming out of fear and on the doctor's orders for them to vacate the room, she, or it, did attempt to get up and attack a patient. Jonathan says that it took at least 5 nurses to overpower her. Skeptics may insist that it's delirium, but people like Jonathan are willing to die on that hill about what he witnessed firsthand that day being nothing short of a demonic possession. I think I agree with him in this one. The haunted Brazilian morgue. Now, picture this. You're the guard that's working the night shift at a morgue in Brazil. Just your regular old gig, nothing too fancy. But then out of nowhere, things start getting just a little bit weird. Lights flickering like you're in a horror movie, doors slamming like they have a mind of their own. It's not your typical night at the office, I'll tell ya. Our guard friends begin thinking, could the place be haunted, or did we just sign up for the night shift at the Bates Motel? I mean, the guards are only there to keep things safe and ensure safe passage of the dead to the great beyond. You've got no problems, and you most definitely don't want to have any problems with the dead. Imagine being in their shoes though. You're on your coffee break and the lights decide that it's disco time, or the doors slam shut when no one's around. You'd be double-checking your employee handbook for the How to Deal with Ghosts at Work section, because I know I would. Like, things couldn't get any spookier. Just as they were about 5 feet away from the red door, the swinging and slamming suddenly stopped, and the lights went out. I'll tell you, my heart would have stopped in that moment, but not these guys. They were cut from a different cloth. They then went on to look around to see if any back doors were open, and to their dismay, all of the doors were closed, and it was not the work of some kind of organ thief or necrophiliac. The clip ends there, but hopefully the guards made it out before being sucked away into whatever vacuum that those ghosts live in. The mysterious stretcher. This one may make your hair stand on end, if I do say so myself. It's a regular night at the Provincial Hospital of Rosario, Argentina, and doctors are doing their doctor things, nurses are doing their nurse things, and then all of a sudden, a stretcher decides it's time for a solo dance party. CCTV footage would catch it all, and I'll tell you, the stretcher's got some moves. I mean, look at it go back and forth. It's like, I don't need a human pushing me around. I'll pay good money to see Elon Musk's face when he realizes that a hospital stretcher was in on the whole auto drive thing well before him. Now, right, before you get all skeptical and dismiss this as simply the wind in action, let me stop you in your tracks and point out that the leaves seen in the footage are not waving around like the Tube Man, and yet they're lightweight. Whatever it was out of the ordinary. You know it as well as I do. After this unseen force seems to have had its fun with the stretcher, it then tips over. Yep, stuff like this is not strange at all. The Prisoner of Azkaban. This is my second Harry Potter reference, and I don't promise that it will be my last. In any case, if for some unforgivable reason you've not seen this classic, well, here's your cue to watch it. Our search for paranormal activities within hospital premises takes us all the way from Argentina to an Indian hospital where a CCTV camera catches yet another bizarre occurrence. Relatives are getting some shut-eye on the floor, perhaps dreaming about chai and samosas, when suddenly a shadowy figure decides it's time for a cameo. Could this just be Bollywood's version of Ghostbusters? And get this, the patient's relatives are snoozing away, totally unaware of the shadow figure's hovering presence. Well, I'd rather be fast asleep than witnessing all of that in real time and suffering a heart attack. A ghost tantrum. We're back in the eerie halls of yet another hospital where the supernatural decided it's time to redecorate, and in ghostly style. Whoever the ghost was, they were sure having a bad day. CCTV footage caught it all. First up, a poster on the wall decides it's done with the whole hanging around thing and flings around for a change. But hold on to your horses, because the party's only getting started. Up next, we see a chair get tossed from one end of the room to another. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more spooky, the topmost drawer begins playing the Open Sesame game all by itself. It's like they've got a ghostly DJ inside queuing up the paranormal beats. The clip ends there, but I really doubt that the party does. Optimus Prime. What does the head of all the Autobots do away from the prying eyes the second it gets the chance? Well, it stretches itself out a bit, that's what. I mean, put yourself in the poor guy's shoes, being driven around like an ambulance for years, when really the fate of the universe, as we know it, rests upon your shoulders. Every now and again, you might break your act, especially when these pesky humans are not watching. And that's exactly what I believe happened right here, and a CCTV camera was there to catch it. The wind? Oh, you can't possibly be serious. That door closed on its own accord, and you know it as well as I do. It's bright as day, and nothing else seems to be tossed around by that wind. And I say I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and agree that it's wind, but how does that explain what happens next? The wind opened the door from the inside? I don't think so. That ambulance is someday going to go fully berserk and transform into a 15-foot giant Autobot. That is, whenever Megatron comes back, and I'll be here to say that I told you so. The haunted wheelchair. Hold on to your seats because we've just cranked the spook factor up a notch. Picture this, a darkened security room in a hospital where our trusty security guards are innocently watching the CCTV feed. But little did they know they were about to witness the ghostly wheelchair show. As the guards are casually sipping their coffee and munching on some late-night snacks, the screen lights up, and there it is from amidst the 3 stationary chairs, a wheelchair that suddenly moves and makes its ground entrance, rolling down the corridor like it's auditioning for a phantom parade. Now, if Newton's first law of motion is anything to go by, that wheelchair should have remained at rest. Its sudden movement is scientific proof that it must have been acted upon by an external force, and that's where the ghost factor comes in. And it just keeps on moving, even out of the hospital premises. It probably sucks to be these guards. They signed up for late-night Netflix binges, not Ghost Patrol, and you can almost feel the tension in the room as they exchange glances. And did you see that? Is this a prank? Well, no, my friends, it's the real deal. A wheelchair with a mind of its own, stealing the spotlight in the dead of night. But what's your move when you're a security guard that's faced with a ghostly joyriding wheelchair? Do you call for backup, grab the popcorn, or just simply do both? Security guard welcomes ghost. You know what's more creepy than a ghost sighting caught on camera? It's a human interaction with said ghost. Like, hold up a moment, can you see the ghosts? And probably most importantly, why the hell would you interact with one? Working the night shift at the hospital is Jay Brown, a security guard who just happens to double as a witch doctor. He thought that he'd seen a ghost, and unlike the rest of us ghostophobic humans, he decided to give it a warm welcome. And he's quite the funny guy as well. He watches the footage the next day and has a pretty interesting perspective. Is it just me, or did a white orb really move across the screen? Caught in 4K. Now, there had been multiple reports of paranormal activity within this hospital, flickering lights, ghostly sightings, you know, all the fun stuff, and nobody, however, had really had the balls to get it all on tape as proof. This security guard rose to the occasion and said that his mother didn't raise a coward when he decided to attempt the impossible. Almost as though sure to God that something sinister would happen with this wheelchair in the hallway, he brought out his phone, stood on his watch and waited, and at some point he was even running out of patience. Just when it seemed he was about to call it a night, his patience and bravery had paid off.
Come on.
Bravery is not stupidity. To make matters even worse, the wheelchair seemed to turn to face him, and he'd gotten what he came for, and it was time to get the heck out of there. The Invisible Patient. Here's yet another tale that may make you question reality and wonder if the afterlife has a sense of humor. I'm calling this one The Invisible Patient, and trust me, it's a doozy. Our trusty security guard's on a solo night shift minding his own business when out of the blue, the automatic door decides to show off its Jedi skills. It opens wide, welcoming, well, nobody. Now, most people might panic or call for backup, but not this guy. Instead, he channels his inner ghost whisperer and almost immediately begins chatting up the invisible patient like he's been expecting them. He even goes on to get our guest a wheelchair. I'm guessing he's just an elderly ghost and has been around for a while. Albeit to an invisible patient, the hospital is warming. I mean, it is a hospital after all. Seconds after death. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to witness is totally out of this world, quite literally. It's not your typical ghost story. We've got exclusive CCTV footage capturing a moment that shows us a sneak peek into the mystical dance between life and whatever comes next. Mere moments after this man's death, his body would be placed in an isolated room in the hospital just before transferring him to the morgue. But guess who just couldn't wait for that? Our friendly ghost decides, you know what, I'm out of here. Watch as the spirit does a little floaty dance, leaving that body behind. With that kind of quiet departure, it really makes me wonder, is the afterlife a cosmic fiesta or just a chill hammock spot? I don't know about you, but I'm not exactly in a hurry to find out. Hopefully they left the doors open because the world needs anything but another haunted hospital. Red Ghost Balloon. Provided they're alive and well, children can be the cutest creatures in the world. If they're dead and they come back to haunt you, well, not so much. On the grounds of a hospital in Argentina, 2 workers observed the most unusual activity, a floating red balloon, and it just had to be red, didn't it? Now, I don't speak Spanish, but I bet they were saying something along the lines of, "Hold up, why is that balloon floating so close to the floor? And most importantly, why does it seem to be moving in on us?" It's all jokes until they discover that it seems this possessed balloon is really after them. Built like me, they turn off the cameras and run as fast as their legs can carry them. My guess is that a child who may have passed away earlier that day or week has come back to haunt, and this was only the opening act. Apparition sightings in Honduras hospital. It's not every time that you catch paranormal actions live on your phone camera. When they're not catching criminals in the act, that's what CCTV cameras do. This one time, however, a worker in a hospital in Honduras had that eerie feeling that something sinister was about to go down, so she brought out her phone to capture the moment, and she would be right. I mean, look at that form. You can't tell what it is, but you know it's something unusual, a presence of some sort. And see how it seems to glance left and right before making its way out of the frame, almost as though to be sure it's not seen by mere mortals. Rumors have it that the form is the ghost of a doctor who used to work in that same hospital. He committed suicide mainly because he couldn't handle the pressures and everything else that went along with his job, and it'll appear that he's back for payback. This should serve as a gentle reminder that healthcare workers deserve much better. Angel visits dying child. Well, enough of the horror stories already. Considering this is also quite paranormal, that's only partially true. It's scary, but in a good way. For this final clip in the series, I'll be showing you something that'll leave you thinking for a while. In fact, it was such a buzz back in the day that it was even on national television. It's the story of supernatural healing, and if you think that angels are not real, well, Chelsea and her mother Pauline would totally disagree with you. You see, Chelsea was born disabled, and death had always been just one call away. A terrible pneumonia infection had her on life support in the pediatric unit at a hospital in Charlotte. Things were not looking so good, and her mother Pauline permitted that she be taken off of life support. There was no reason to stall the inevitable any longer, and that was when the unthinkable happened.
This image appeared up on the security monitor, and it was an image.
Pauline took that photo on her phone off the CCTV footage at the hospital, and the nurses confirmed they saw a bright white light enter and leave Chelsea's room. And boy, did she get better, even after having been taken off the life support.
It's a miracle. I'm learning not to take things for granted.
She lived to see her 15th birthday, and that was more than a win for the entire family.
It'll be a special birthday. Who knows, it could be her last, but she's come this far.
Whew, I almost teared up there for a moment. I don't know about you, but I think I believe in miracles. Well, that's a wrap on our ghostly hospital tour. From phantom wheelchairs to invisible patients, these hospitals are like the Disneyland of the afterlife. And who knew that ghosts had such a penchant for medical drama? As usual, you can let me know which of the clips you found to be the most haunting in the comments below. And if you have any tales of your own from your hospital stays, spill the beans and let me know all about them. And the next time you're in the hospital, stay curious and watch out for flying chairs.